Hello, and welcome back to the Richard Taliaferro podcast, where we take a look at career insights and give advice to career changers. Today's guest is Britton Kent, co-founder of Cooper's AquaArmor, a children's swimwear company inspired by her own experience as a new parent. As Britton and her husband David prepared for the arrival of their first child, Cooper, a growing interest in water safety led them to notice a gap in the market and eventually to build a company around it. I'm talking with Britton about her move into entrepreneurship, how the idea for Cooper's AquaArmor took shape, what she's learned from building something from the ground up, and where she hopes to take the company next. Britton, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Richard. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. And first thing I want to talk about is, where did the idea for Cooper's AquaArmor come from?
Believe it or not, it came from my own fear of water. Okay. I did not learn how to swim properly until I was 33 and 6 months pregnant.
Wow. Amazing.
Yep. So growing up, my parents always tried to get me in the pool, always tried to get me in water sports, and it was just not my thing. I hated it. It was just not fun for anyone. And it kind of just continued to be this fear. In certain situations, I would even hyperventilate, like being on a boat in the water. It was just not a place for me. And when we found out I was pregnant, my in-laws moved to Florida and got a pool. Okay. And so I was like, okay, I have to get over my fear, and I definitely don't want my fear to carry over to my son. And so I was like, I got about 3 months to figure it out.
Okay.
So I approached my husband, who spent 14 years in the Coast Guard, 4 years at the Academy, 10 years as an active duty officer. And I said, I need you to teach me. I said, I got to get comfortable. I've got to be able to get in the water, because if I eventually get to stay home from work and not have to have a day job, I'd like to be able to take him to the pool, right? Like, I want him to have these experiences, so I need to face my fears. Okay. And then, of course, I knew nothing about being safe around water, especially with a child. And so I went down this massive rabbit hole and came across this company called Alive Solutions. Have you seen the picture of the colors in the different water that's been popping up on the news lately?
A little bit, yeah. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you've seen?
Yeah, so Alive Solution, and they're unfortunately not always credited in those news articles, but they're the company that did the original research, I believe back in 2012. And I came across their research, and I came across their website. They have phenomenal articles. And it shocked me that the number one color we put boys in is blue. And it's also the worst color to wear, arguably in any body of water, regardless of what the base of the water is.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to put my son in swim lessons, and he's not going to wear blue. And that was almost impossible.
Why was that?
Because there aren't a whole lot of non-blue swimsuits, and the ones that are like school bus yellow. They're not neon, right? Like, neon is a specific hue of color that allows it to have that vibrancy. And so, like, you're going to see this wherever you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I literally woke my husband up at 3 a.m. It was like, David. And I told him, and he was like, yeah, sounds about right. And of course, totally unfazed at 3 o'clock in the morning. But when he woke up, he was like, wait a second, run that by me again. Okay. And he agreed, like, we've got to have the neon colors, especially having a pool in my in-laws' backyard. They live 10 minutes from the beach. Like, we need that safety for us.
Sure.
And then I started telling him, like, how there's nothing available. And I joked, I was like, well, what if we did it? And he just looked at me and said, you get a bonus. It's your money. And that's
Okay.
how it started.
Wow. And so I want to go back for a moment and look at why blue is the very popular, almost universally popular color for boys and swimwear. Why, in your research into this, what did you discover?
I discovered it's one of those societal norms where boys wear blue.
Mm,
And really, until recently, no one has challenged that.
okay.
And, if you look back at news articles, there's always at least one news outlet, local news outlet, that shares the Alive Solution picture in the spring, be like, hey, reminder, put your kids in bright colors. But no one's actually challenged the fashion societal norms around boys wearing pink. I think it's more so in other types of fashion that are being challenged right now. But when it comes to swimwear, it just seems to be a forgotten fashion line.
To me that seems odd at the very
Mhm.
least, because at the end of the day, it's a safety issue. Your child's in the water and you want to be able to spot your child easily. Wouldn't it make sense, boy or girl, to have them in the most vibrant color that you could?
You would think
Yeah.
most parents are taught that skill is enough to keep your kids safe. And
Mm.
when I actually did a pop-up shop in our local field or local mall, I got that comment a lot, especially from dads.
Wow.
My kid doesn't need that because he knows how to swim. And I said,
Mm.
that's fabulous. But what happens if the tide takes it?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if that happens and he's in blue, he's young. He's only 8 years old. He's going to get tired.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And if he's wearing this, Coast Guard can find him a lot easier than if he's blending in with his surroundings.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. And how did you start going about building the company? Did you have any prior experience or knowledge in clothing?
No,
Okay.
I had absolutely none. I have a 9 to 5. I have a corporate job. I'm a government contractor, as is, 80% of the DC, greater DC area. I do IT digital transformations.
Okay.
I know I'm dangerous enough with a computer to get people to upgrade their systems.
Okay.
Uh, but when it comes to fashion, I've always relied on my mom and my grandmother. It's never been my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so my fashion has always been because they keep up with the latest trends. And so I ran the idea by my mom, and she was like, honey, there's no way that's true. And she started looking and started seeing it. She was like, holy crap. So, like most people in modern day, I pulled up Chat GPT or Claude or whatever AI system that you like. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, what do I need to know about getting into the fashion industry? I want to do small manufacturing. I want it to be built in the United States, and I want it to be reasonably priced so the average American can afford it.
Okay.
And it said, here are 5 manufacturers that say that they're USA based, and they have, what my research, AI stuff. It
Mm-hmm.
popped out some places for me to call.
Okay.
And so I did. I called around several manufacturers and I talked to them, told them my idea, told them my vision, and told them that I don't know what I'm doing. And I need a manufacturer who's going to help teach me and be patient with me, but most importantly, honor what I'm trying to build. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to my husband and I that we make it in the United States.
Okay.
We do not want to take advantage of other countries.
Sure.
And hopefully one day we're big enough that we can have our own manufacturer and provide jobs to our community. And so that was really important to us that we were foundationally structured here in America.
Sure.
And then neon, there was a surprising number of manufacturers who don't have neon colors on hand and had to go find other fabric manufacturers to get neon. And even then, the neon options were very limited.
Okay.
So I did that. I worked with their designers to come up with a fun way of doing block coloring to make it vibrant and kind of fashionable, but also visible. And so on camera, it's a little hard to tell. So we've got neon yellow waistband, the green front, and then like an orange racing stripe. On our smaller kids, it's a pink racing stripe instead of orange.
Got it. Okay.
And then for our little ones, our babies, it's just the pink and the green.
And those colors really do pop.
Yes.
And which is so important if you're on the beach on a bright sunny day, you want to be able to see where your child is in the water very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
they're also SPF 20.
Okay.
So there is some sun protection. And the only reason I mention that is because if you're going to the lake, but you're not going to get in the water, that's fine. You're at a picnic in a big area. You can still put your child in our sun guard, our rash guard, our sentinel sun guard is what we call it. And they still get protection, but it's still easier to see them because they still stand out against the green environment. And so it's not just for water, although they are swimsuits. But we've taken our son to the park and it poured the rain. And he was the only kid who was like, woo, because he had on a rash guard shirt and he was like, yeah, let's go play in the puddles. I'm down.
Sounds like a typical boy.
Very classic 90s boy.
Okay. That's great. That's great to hear. Now, I'm really curious about you're starting this business up and you're reaching out to different manufacturers while you're still doing your day job. It's a lot of plates to have spinning in the air at one time. In the beginning, what was that like for you doing that? Doing your performing in your day job while spinning up this new idea into a business. What was that like for you?
It was a lot. It really was. And at the time, Cooper was only 6 months old. So I still had a baby and a job. It was a lot to juggle. It was a lot to learn. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I have a partner, like a genuine partner. My husband is not a babysitter. He is a father. And it was very easy for me to say, hey, I've got some ideas for the business. Do you mind if I take an hour to go ideate, go brainstorm, go put thoughts out on paper? Are you good with Cooper? And my husband 9 out of 10 times was like, yes. And that one time he wasn't, it's because he needed to use the restroom and then was totally fine after he came back.
Okay.
So,
okay.
But that was a huge relief. He's also my sanity check. So opposites attract. He is very detail oriented, data analytics, rules. He's a very military officer. I am big thinker, idea, brainstorm, pure chaos. And so he would brainstorm with me during nap time or after bedtime when we had our time in the evenings. And he would sanity check me, be like, honey, that's like our 5-year plan. Like, let's get through the first 3 years. Okay. Then let's get back together. So he was my grounder. He grounded me and was my sanity, and still to this day is. So. Okay.
And you've gotten at this a little bit, but I want to get into a little bit more about how crucial was it for you to have that level of support to make the idea that you have into a reality.
I wouldn't have been able to do it without it.
Mm.
I really wouldn't. I will footnote that comment with, it's not impossible, right? Like I met some incredible single mothers while I was doing my pop-up at Springfield Mall.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them says, I have an idea for a small business, but I don't have anyone to help me. And I said, you know what? When you're ready, you call me and I will be that support for you. Because although as blessed as I am that my support came from my husband, it doesn't always have to be that person. But having someone who can check your sanity, who can help you ideate, who can help realize the ins and the outs is critical.
And you just said something there that I really liked when you were at the your pop-up store at Springfield Mall, and the woman came up to you with her idea. How important is it for you to be able to, I guess, be of service to people in that regard? Who's somebody who sees you as an example of, what they can be, what they can do. What does that mean for you?
Extremely honored and flattered, honestly. I'm very blessed that I had two friends in my inner circle who have started their own businesses over the last 10 years. And so I've gotten nothing like this. One is a pet company and one is a writing studio. But seeing them succeed in what they're passionate about really helped me take it from what originally was a joke to an actual reality. And so the fact that this woman felt so comfortable coming up to me and saying, this is amazing. I've always thought about starting my own company, and a total stranger, right? She just totally came up to me. I'm very honored to be that person. And I'm always happy to talk to new people. One of my favorite things in the whole wide world is coaching and growing people. I'd love to do that.
Okay. And I'm curious, is this your first foray into entrepreneurship?
Yes.
Okay. And in that regard, in running your own business, what is that like?
It's kind of surreal most days, especially since, we're still, we're only just starting our second year as a company. And so, we don't have a lot of sales and a lot of things, but most of our infrastructure, the things that really took up my time in the first year, are fairly well settled for now, right? They're obviously scalable, which that's the ultimate goal.
Right.
But I think right now it's marketing, it's getting our word out, it's networking. And so it's kind of surreal to me that I get to do that for this, because that's what I do in my day job and I love it. And now I'm like, oh wait, people want to hear about this. They want to hear the story, because we are made by parents for parents. And that's who we are. We're a middle-class family made for the average American. And so it's just, it's surreal. But then there are days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't done this. So then I gotta write it all down and I just slowly check it off.
It sort of feels like, I would imagine, having a never-ending to-do list. Yeah. And at the end of the day, what you are doing really does really is a benefit for families
Mhm.
because it gives them an extra measure of safety when they're hanging out at the lake or hanging out at the beach.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, and so I'm wondering, like, what types of products do you sell to parents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our bread and butter are, we have three pieces.
Mm-hmm.
We have the one piece, so it's the onesie. This is for our smallest little ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a hood and it's full sleeve. But what I love about ours is it has an extra long diagonal zipper, which makes it
Okay.
significantly easier to put on and off. A lot of times the zipper only comes to like here, and we have an
Right.
extra like 3 inches on ours.
Right.
Um, and then we have a little zipper cover to help it from catching on their little necks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's our smallest. That's for 3 months to 24 months is what we have for this one. And then you've heard me mention our Centennial Sun Guard, which is our rash guard, which is this.
Okay. Yeah.
And then this is the pink one. So it's got the pink racing stripes.
Yep.
And
Yes,
then, of
indeed.
course, our swim trunks. And then they've got the
Yep.
cute little pocket in the back.
Pocket in the back. Yes. Yeah.
And this has a nice drawstring as well.
Okay. And what I noticed about the onesie was, and I don't know much about fashion or clothing, but just that little bit of extra zipper that you put in, it feels like an innovation that you've discovered or have discovered through just trial and error and trying to get a fidgety boy into a onesie like that. Do you have any other ideas, innovations that you're considering looking at for for future pieces?
Yeah. So I think on our next iteration of the onesie, I think we're going to make the hood removable.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we did the hood in the first place is most of the infant swimsuits that I could find for Cooper had a hat.
Okay.
It was detached. And so he was constantly throwing it, putting it on, throwing it, putting it on, and we lost half of them. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to pay $45 for a school bus yellow swimsuit that I can only wear 2 times, he can only wear 2 times, like, I don't want to lose the hat.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the other thing too with this particular hood is it's not advisable in rivers
Hmm.
or any, like, potentially the ocean, especially around Rocky, because we don't want them to get pulled under by the hood.
Got
So
it.
this hood is really good for swimming pools and lakes, soft bodies of water.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we discovered that because a friend of ours is a travel agent and she has this on her son and she loved it. And I forget what happened, but it got caught on like the table chair or something.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, next round that needs to be able to come off. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll keep the hood, but we'll have some kind of connection for that. I get a lot of questions about adults.
Okay. Okay.
Especially the moms. The moms would love to do a mommy son matching in like the hot pink.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to be our next couple of releases, but eventually it would be kind of fun to have a mommy and me set. Um, but I think with the rash guard, we probably need to work on the actual design ever so slightly. It fits more like a t-shirt. Rash guards are typically more form-fitting.
Okay.
My Cooper hates tight-fitting clothes, and so we built these towards his body type.
Sure.
So he's only 2.5 now, but he's in the same size as a 4-year-old.
Okay.
He's a big
Oh,
kid.
big kid.
And so he's always been really broad, and so all of our things are built towards his shape, which is slightly thicker than most kids his age. So we'll probably tighten up the shirt a little bit towards the bottom But other than those two things,
Mm-hmm.
we haven't really thought much about it.
Okay. And what has been the reception that you've gotten from your pieces, from parents?
Yeah. They never realized how bright it was or how
Mhm.
much it helped until they put their kids in it.
Okay.
My friend who's a travel agent, she often goes on the trips that she is pitching prior to actually pitching it.
Mm-hmm.
And she always takes her son with her. And he is a total water bug and she doesn't go without it. And she's like, it is so easy now that he can walk. It is so easy to keep sight of him. She's like, even just in my peripheral, if I see him go this way, it's so much faster for me to keep an eye on him.
That's
Um,
great.
I've been told that they love their quick dry. I have some friends who are from Miami, and so they love how quickly it dries because no one likes being cold out of the water, right?
No, no.
And the SPF 20 has been a big plus.
Sure, sure. And in judging from that, the feedback that you've gotten from your customers, how does that match up with your expectation?
Um, Seeing as though I had no idea what my expectations were,
Okay.
I am thrilled to have any feedback,
Hmm.
especially feedback that's actionable.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I know one other thing we did on our one piece is
Mhm.
there is a little bit extra fabric in the back, and you'll notice that the rear stitching is further up.
Okay.
And the reason for that is water diapers. They're very thick. And so if the one piece isn't loose enough around the diaper area,
Mhm.
it is it's not going to be comfortable for them.
Sure.
And so that's been also something we've had a lot of positive feedback on.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And so, what do you see ahead for Cooper's Aqua Armor in the next year or 2 years as you continue to grow and innovate?
Yeah. So we're currently looking for a new manufacturer.
Okay.
There were just some communication and delivery issues. Product quality has been great,
Okay.
but delayed deliveries, lack of communication. If I'm going to make this business, I need someone who's actually going to talk to me and deliver on time.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal this year is to find a new manufacturer, talk to them about the changes in the products that I want to make, and really kind of establish a cadence for that. The other priority for the next year is marketing and brand recognition. Really trying to set up our social media presence, really get our story out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've been really, really upset in the last 3 months. We've had our most sales, and we hope that trajectory continues.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I'd love to be able to quit my day job in a year or two and do this full time.
Sure.
Uh, I think my husband would also greatly appreciate if I got our inventory out of his closet. We have like 600 bathing suits right behind this wall in his closet.
Oh
So
my
it's
goodness.
just
Oh my
neon.
goodness.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And I mean, and running a business like that from home, it's, with boxes all over the place. I can imagine it's a bit of an adjustment, you know, from, just your standard work from home arrangement, just standard living space. Right.
yep.
Yeah.
I've got a computer. I've got, as a matter of fact, let's see. So this is my printer, my like label printer. I
Mm-hmm.
stitch in Angel. Um, and so that's all set up here. It connects to this computer. Behind this wall is boxes and boxes of inventory. And then in our living room, because we have a small condo, in our living room, I've got this big fabric box with all of my shipping bags and all of my, like, I have little heart-shaped seed papers. They're called positivity blends that I throw into the packages. And
Nice.
I have stickers, like just little things that I throw in the bags. And I got a big thing of that sitting on top of our bar cabinet.
Okay.
Because I don't have
Okay.
any one space because I work from home with my corporate job. So the space that I would use for the business, I have to keep clean-ish for my day job.
And
So.
I mean, it really sounds like, as I'm listening to you, you're living I guess, a stereotypical beginning entrepreneur life where everything's at home. The business is right there, and it sounds like from your sales, from what you're talking about with your sales, maybe the day is going to, day would the day come where you find an office or a storefront or something like that to move your business to?
That would be fabulous. I think it's probably going to be a few years before we'll actually have a storefront,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
but that is our goal
Mm-hmm.
ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. And so as we start to wrap up, I'm curious about what lessons you've learned as an entrepreneur, and what would you tell yourself? What would you have told yourself to, 2 years ago?
Yeah. I the number one lesson I think is do your research on your platform. And it's ironic coming from a digital transformation specialist, right? That I'm like, my infrastructure is what I had to literally redo 2 months ago. But I'll blame it on the pregnancy brain and the sleep deprivation. But if I could, if I had a postcard from the future 2 years ago, I would have said, really think about your infrastructure and what you want. How extensive are you going to rely on social media? Do you want people to be able to buy your products off social media, or do you just want them to go to the website?
Yeah.
All things I didn't even know to ask myself back then that I now know. Because I didn't use TikTok until like a year ago. I went a whole year owning a business before I had a TikTok. But at the end of the day, like, that is the platform right now. And so I have my husband and I love to watch woodworking on YouTube.
Okay.
And several of our favorite channels that we watch all use Squarespace. And so it's like, oh, I'll use Squarespace because they use it. Well, they sell t-shirts that are printed somewhere else and they're not the one, right? Like,
Right.
and they don't sell via Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever else is out there. They just sell on their website, and that's all. And so setting up an Amazon store, setting up a TikTok store, setting up a Walmart store, setting up an Instagram store, I had to set those all up separately and track my inventory separately, and then make sure my website was accurate. With Shopify, they're all integrated. And so my inventory automatically updates across the board. And so I just made the switch. So the number one thing I would say to myself is really look and consider what your infrastructure, what you want your infrastructure to be.
Because it sounds like you have building that foundation, a solid foundation early saves a lot of headaches as you are continuing to build.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That, and then the second one is do a better job interviewing manufacturers.
Okay. Because that is so important, because that is such a critical piece of what you're doing. And can you talk more about that?
Yeah. So I will say my manufacturer, at the end of the day, I got a great product, right? I have no issues with the product. I went into this arrangement making the assumption that they communicate the way I communicate, that they communicate the way that my day job is expected, right? And that is not at all the case. And I would have to email 5 or 6 times, leave multiple voicemails just to get an update. Unfortunately, they were delayed for both of my orders, so they were technically in breach of contract. But because I didn't understand the contract world of fashion, that I really don't have any legal standing to take action against them because of the way that the contract was written. And so really understanding how to work with a manufacturer, what questions to ask, lay out those expectations, less is not more in this situation. Be very clear about your expectations and your wants and your working style. And if they can't meet that or they can't agree to that contractually, then you need to go find a manufacturer who will, because it is your company at the end of the day.
And that is always important to remember, is that it's ultimately it's on your shoulders. Yeah. So, Britton Kent, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I think a lot of people are going to get value out of your journey, and pick up some of the products that you have for their kids as well. How can people find you and your website?
So they can go to www.aquaarmorswim.com.
Okay.
They can email me at caaswim@aquaarmorswim.com.
Okay.
And my phone number is on the website, but it's 301-246-2674.
Okay. All right. Great. And we will have that in the show notes for the podcast. So thank you very much again, Britton Kent, and really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Richard, and I look forward to talking to you later.
If you're looking for work that works for you, come find me at richardtaliaferro.com. Thanks for listening, and talk to you next week.